What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, the meeting that was not quite the meeting was the meeting with the Anglo groups that didn't include the Anglo groups that wanted to be at the meeting. So
I don't care. I don't care who was there, Aaron. I really don't.
You don't?
What I care about is the bottom line. What I care about is what we're going to, the results of this meeting. I told you on Friday, and I maintain today, that this meeting and the fact that Dubé and Girard weren't there is simply because Dubé and Girard, when they saw the absolute pile of manure that Monsieur Roberge had dumped on their desk, turned around, said, handed him a mop and a bucket and said, you clean this up and you clean it up right quick. And right now, I mean, I have Mr. Roberge's tweet in front of me. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. They had a meeting with different groups. It was very cordial. We'll produce new documents so that the government's initial intentions are clearly understood and so that the rights of all are always and again reaffirmed. My thanks to Christian Dubé and Eric Girard and their teams for their collaboration. This guy was given a very short lease to clean this up. Remember, there's an election next year. And guess what? Maybe these guys aren't going to win. Maybe these guys are going to have to go back to private sector. Does Christian Dubé, who, as far as I can tell, despite the fact he's a member of the CAD government, is a pretty reasonable guy, competent guy, does he really want to go back into the private sector, being the guy who denied some 85-year-old Anglo health care because a bunch of clowns in Roberge's department thought it would be fun to push the elderly around? Does Girard, who we hear talk about him maybe running for the Tories in 2025, does he want to have this hanging around his neck? I don't think so. I really think this was Monsieur Roberge slipping in it, being told, clean up your mess, clean it up now. The trick, of course, obviously, is to determine what is going to change, what this new document will say, or if this document will in fact be completely rescinded. We don't know. But I got a sneaking suspicion, Aaron, you are not going to see Eric Girard or Christian Dubé in this quadrant of the galaxy until this thing is settled.
I want to ask you, Jim, to your point about it not being important who he met with or not met with. I mean, isn't that, though, to some degree a slap in the face for the QCGN when they decide, and apparently they were asked late minute, although we'll have Sylvia Martin-Laforge on later to clarify. I wonder, what Anglos, because we've been talking about this story now for the basic part of a week, and you don't know the day of the meeting who they're going to, no one says anything about who's representing the Anglo community. Does that not bother you?
No, because that's a good question, Aaron. Who represents the Anglo community? I remember talking to you not that long ago, acknowledging that up until a certain date, you and I had never heard of the QCGN, ever. And all of a sudden, they're in the news. Because why? Well, because Francois Legault, an Anglophobic punk, decides that he wants to start pushing people around. And all of a sudden, the QCGN seems to be the go-to, like a lot of news units have the phone number. Let's call them up. Okay, and I'm not taking away from their sincerity. I'm not taking away from their dedication. But the fact of the matter is, I always kind of wince, and it's been 40 years I've been wincing when I hear people talking about, leaders of the Anglophone community. Damn it, I missed that election, Aaron. Could you tell me when that was? Because I didn't vote for any of these people to represent me or to lead me. I'm sure I've said multiple times on this show, there is such a place called English Quebec. It's a place that people like Francois Legault had better understand is going to exist, and it's going to exist past their time in politics. But quite frankly, do I need a middleman? Right now, and I hesitate to use the word leader, but I would respectfully submit that right now, Aaron Durfell of the Montreal Gazette has done a whole hell of a lot more than any so-called Anglo community leader when it comes to bringing this to light and holding this government's feet to the fire. So, as I say, I want to see the results here. I don't care who was there. I don't care who wasn't there. I want to see what Monsieur Roberge is going to do, because honestly, up until now, this has been an exercise, and it's a new verb that the OQLF has approved, le gaslighting, and that stops. And this garbage is going to stop. And you want to go play with menus or signs, knock yourselves out, kids, okay? Stop screwing around with healthcare, because this is not going to end politically well for you. And remember, this is a government that is already tremendously unpopular with francophones let's not try to broaden that base, shall we?
By the way, we'll move off this, but with respect to the QCGN, and I take your point, it seems to me when Christopher Skeet was the man in charge, direction or whatever his title was at the time for, tell me what it was again. He's the minister responsible for
patting Anglos on the head. Yeah.
He the QCGN became the de facto English organization, and he was meeting with them on a regular basis. So when I bring them up, that's why I bring that up.
No, I understand that, but I also remember the conversation you and I had. Is that it wasn't like, we had heard of this, oh, yeah, sure, them. It's not like they were the Sun Youth of the Anglo community. You know what I'm saying? It's like, anyway.
Well, I wonder these days, who would that be? I mean, they've obviously, I saw a list that was published today about who they met with, and we're going to talk about that later on. Anybody knows.
My praise for Aaron DeFell is sincere. But, is it so, unorthodox? Is it so radical to think that maybe we, Anglos, are our own spokesperson, that maybe our concerns, our desire to protect our rights doesn't have to be channeled through any entity. You've been hearing it on the show all afternoon, and we're hearing it more and more. And the fact that you had 3 government ministers who were essentially shamed into reacting to what was essentially a story that was confined to the Gazette and CJAD, I think speaks volumes. I think there is an understanding that to a certain extent, there are certain elements of the CAC government, of Francois Legault's government, are beginning to understand, you know what, we may have gone a little too far on this. We may not be able to get away with this. And given that we're trying to, recycle ourselves, and when the parliamentary session begins again, because we've got to go after the PQ, maybe we don't need a 5 or 6 front war. Maybe we should be concentrating on certain things. They can turn all of this controversy with the Anglo community off with just like a switch. Just get rid of that document. I said it earlier this week.
You did,
Rescind it, make it go away, go back to the status quo. No one's going to get there, apart from the usual, performing cheerleaders over at Quebecor. No one is going to get their nose out of joint on this. Stop digging, okay? Take the shovel, throw it up the top of the hole, and simply stop digging, Mr. Labauche. It's not going to end well for you.
One last question to ask. With his announcement, you read that tweet. It's a pretty short tweet today from Jean-François Roberge. Do you take heart in the fact that he's going to rewrite this, or is to your original point, get rid of it? What's the rewriting going to accomplish?
I take heart from the fact that he's suggesting he's throwing to something, he's advancing something. There is something down the road. He's going to be asked about it, or Legault, who's got a cabinet meeting tomorrow. I hope he'll be scrummed on it. But all that said, he's created an expectation. It wasn't just a bunch of gobbledygook. Well, we'll look into it and see what we can do. He said, we will produce new documents so the government's initial intentions are clearly understood. You got to read the fine print, though. When I get a little nervous when I say, so that the rights of all are always and again reaffirmed. And in fact, with this government, the only rights that count are those of white francophones. So I'll wait and see what the final product is. But the fact is, he has created an expectation. Let's see how he follows through.
All right. You have a headline here that says, time to start paying more attention to Caribbean weather forecasts. What do we mean here?
No, Aaron, I scared the hell out of myself because I heard you doing the weather, talking about Caribbean weather forecasts, talking about Ernesto, the new proto-hurricane. And the fact is, this is it. It's all connected now. And my God, you know what the other thing that scared the hell out of me? Did you like that quote? And I'm sure I don't have nothing against the guy from Transport Quebec, but there's something fundamentally wrong when somebody with a straight face says, yes, well, you have to understand the pumping equipment we had got flooded. Think about that for a second. It's like saying the fire extinguisher caught fire. There's something fundamentally wrong with that picture, Aaron, and we're kind of chuckling, but man, it's like the curse of Highway 13. If you don't get jammed on there in the winter, it looks like you get flooded out in the summer.
I hadn't even paid much attention to that. Now that you bring it up, Jim, about the pump getting flooded, I'm laughing out loud because, of course, it's such a Quebec thing. Exactly, for exactly that reason. All right, listen, by the way, they let us know. I asked Lauren, our traffic reporter, about, it's closed today, and obviously you can imagine what a mess it's making in traffic, right? And he said that Transport has advised him that they hope to have it open by tomorrow, but there hasn't been any update to that forecast or to that prediction at all. So,
and of course, if it rains overnight, Aaron, we're all up the creek, so to speak.
Yeah, but the pump can handle a little bit of rain, just can't handle a lot of rain. We should have bought a better pump.
Yeah, we'll need a bigger pump.
Yeah, we'll need a bigger pump. All right, Jim, thank you.
Adama.